Hey, what's up, guys? So today I'm going to be reviewing this set of Italeri US Paratroopers. These are 172 scale miniatures. You can see them right here next to me. This is number 6063. They are from World War II. They are produced in Italy, and they were produced in 2007. At least that's what the copyright says. So I'm not sure exactly how old this box is. I mean, I'm assuming it's from 07, but sometimes these things maybe get reproduced and maybe don't get a new copyright. I really don't know what the copyright laws are from this manufacturer, like in Italy, but I know usually when you do new print runs or production runs in the United States, you usually get an updated copyright date. At least that's the way it is with books, right? So I'm not really sure if this is a newer version of the '07 sculpts or what. At any rate, I just want to go over a few things first. I'm going to talk about the box, so we'll get to the actual miniatures in a minute. But in my research, sort of prepping for this review and reaction analysis type video, I wanted to learn a little bit about the company and the illustrator of this box art. At first, I was like, did they credit the illustrator? And I couldn't find anything on the box. And before I even went online, I was like, oh, you know what? A good illustrator signs his work. So then I started looking at the box, and I found the illustrator's signature. At first, I thought this was an S for S Rava. Turns out it's a G. So it's Giuseppe Rava, and he's a historical painter. He does all of Italeri's box art. Absolutely fantastic painter. He's active today. He's active on Instagram. He has a beautiful website full of information about him, including his biography, and a store where you can buy his prints. And he even sells original illustrations through his Instagram, from what I could tell. I need to do a bit more research on him, but I think his illustration styles are beautiful. He does all kinds of historical works, and they're all military themed, which is awesome. He might even do other things. I have to look into it more. He's probably worth a review on his own. But what I really like about Italeri's box art is that it captures my imagination in a lot of ways, as all art should. It inspires me to want to, paint these guys up. So I'm going to be approaching this review from the perspective of a miniature painter. So we'll look at all the details of the miniatures in more detail, but just quickly, another couple things about the box. I mean, it displays well from all sides. You got different angles of it that show the illustration and in close-ups or cropped along all the sides. And then on the back, the back of the box for me is definitely the least interesting part, and that's because there really isn't anything on here except a couple, like a basic paint guide, and they're referencing their own paint colors. But we could find Vallejo's versions of these based on how I've painted the 132 scale and 135 scale miniatures I've done in the past. So that's not a hard lift at all. But they do have their own recommendations, and they even have a cute little outline here that matches up with the one figure in the box, which I believe is right. Where's he at? Do they have this miniature in the box? I guess not. So yeah, but this is basically the size. Actually, it lines up pretty good. This one's holding a gun here, but that's about the closest one we can get in terms of scale. I guess it has actually, looks like the outline is actually a bit bigger than the figures in the box, which is fine. You get a good sense for the scale of it anyway. I don't know, maybe they're including the base, but head to toe this is a bit bigger. The language is Italian first, which is fine, followed by English, and then I won't identify the others. I don't want to be wrong, but I probably would be. And then inside the box, there are 48 figures. They're not painted. They're a relatively hard plastic. I mean, they have a little bit of bend to them. They're a softer plastic, but sturdy enough that they hold detail really well. So without bending too much. So I'm definitely interested in painting them. I think they're exciting to look at and get me excited to want to paint. So we'll talk about those now. So yeah, US Paratroopers, World War II, by Italeri. Here we go. So they came like this, folded up in the box with a piece of paper in between them. The piece of paper essentially just has a mailing address on here. I guess if you need to send away a faulty product or something, then they have some important information here in English. It's just that it's, you know, pretty standard stuff. They recommend you clean the product with a detergent to degrease them, which is always a good idea with plastics. Oils from your fingers, oil from the production process. They will make it really hard for paint to stick to them. I mean, we're going to prime them anyway, but the primer could also slide off too without properly washing them. You don't need to go crazy, but you know, any sort of dish soap has a mild degreaser in it, and that's usually enough, right? So the first thing I noticed was this very long parachute shape. I thought that was awesome. It does look like when you take this guy out, when you cut him out, he's going to need to be twisted a little bit. Let me see if I can get that better. Yeah. Because of the way it folds, I mean, that would be pretty awkward to have it standing there. It looks like it's actually like folding on the ground this way. So that's probably like a little bit of modeling that needs to be done, and I can pop this guy off and sort of twist it around and show you. So that shouldn't be a problem. I did count that there are a number of unique figures. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 2, 3. So there's 15 guys, right? 48 in total with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 14 unique poses. 48 figures, 14 unique poses. No like loose guns or sections of wall or anything that need to be assembled. And so that's nice. And there's a lot that kind of comes to mind as I'm looking at these, because again, from a painter's perspective, I'm thinking, what do I need to clean up first so I can get like the cleanest paint job possible? But honestly, looking at these, I'm really impressed because there's no mold lines, seam lines or otherwise down the figure's faces, which is great. There is a mold line down the sides, but it's very minor, and it's so minor, in fact, that I probably would not spend too much time cleaning these up and just getting them primed and painted quickly. They're very minor, and even the worst flashing looks like it would come off pretty easily. That being said, they're almost all connected by their helmets. So when I'm taking them off of their sprues, I'm not going to have that texture detail on the top of the helmet, and I'm going to have to do some reshaping. So that's kind of where I'm like, that's kind of a lot of work if I'm painting a lot of these guys to sort of make sure their helmets are all cleaned up. There's also this guy without a helmet, and he has a mohawk, which is pretty funny to me. I mean, I've seen that there are some plastic platoon guys out there that are hard to find too, and they have mohawks as well. I'm not sure where this trope came out of, these airborne troopers with mohawks. I've never seen them depicted outside of miniatures, but maybe they did exist during World War II. I'm not really sure when that hairstyle became popularized. I mean, I know maybe he was a Native American soldier, or maybe I really don't know. I don't know enough about the hairstyles of this era, because I'm usually painting guys with helmets, or they have pretty traditional or close cut haircuts due to them being in the Army. So I think that's pretty neat. I think that it's cool that his helmet's there, but again, there's a pretty big attachment to all their heads that needs to be cleaned up and accounted for. So you do lose the detail in that. So I'm kind of wondering what that's going to look like. Overall, I think some of the poses are kind of awkward and goofy. Like this guy, like that's super weird. like he's holding his gun and with a grenade in one hand, and he's holding the grip with one hand and a grenade in the other. But he kind of looks like he's surrendering. I don't know. This is, I guess, supposed to be like an action pose. He looks like he's charging with a bayonet fixed, but he's not wearing he doesn't have a bayonet on the gun. This guy's just standing here. This guy's, a kind of classic throwing the grenade pose, but he looks like he's not fully pulling back on his arm like he's ready to launch. He's sort of like in the the middle of either pulling back or getting ready to release. And the flashing under his arm is a little bit noticeable. I mean, it's still very minor. So those poses are kind of awkward. This one is cool. I mean, this guy looks like he's ready to jump. Is he wearing he's wearing a, so he looks like he's got a full parachute packed and ready to deploy. And this guy has his parachute deployed, so his backpack's a bit flatter. And looking at these guys, I mean, these are more standard poses. The guy with the mohawk it's a fairly stagnant pose, but he's got an interesting face at least, so that's cool. This guy looks like his guy has the bayonet attached, and he looks like he's standing there ready to receive a charge, which is awkward, and his finger's also on the trigger. This is your standard tall shooting phase. It looks like he's maybe shooting over something tall, like he's trying to get over like a wall or something that he's peeking over and shooting. And you got your standard guy with, you're firing from the hip Thompson shooter, and then this guy who's also looks like he's shooting above a wall. Maybe like these guys both look like they're leaning up to shoot. So that's interesting to me, to have these kind of peeking poses, I would call them. But other than that, there's not much else to this kit. But it is worth it that the detail is incredibly high. The flashing is low, which is great. The helmets are going to be a strange challenge to clean up. And for the most part, I think I'm excited to try these out. So I'm just kind of looking at them again one last time. I don't really think that there's much more to say other than I want to get them off of the sprue and clean them up a little bit and kind of give you another rundown of each individual figure. So let's do that. All right, so I'm going to remove one of each pose. I'm going to start with the head. I'm going to use my little clippers here. Do the best job I can to keep it in focus and kind of follow the curve of the helmet and then get the base. Not all of these guys have bases either, which is interesting. Like the parachute guy. And the people prone, they never, like every Army man I've ever seen who like a prone character, they never have a base included. And these bases are a bit thicker and smaller. I mean, I'd almost want them to be smaller, but they do stand up, so that's cool. So we'll put them out here. Let's see the helmet real quick. Yeah, I mean, that's not terrible, but it is something that I will need to scrape. And then he has some flash on his hand too. So we'll use a brand new razor blade for that. Get the rest of these guys off the sprue real quick. Do all their heads, then I'll do all their bases. Squeakiest clippers ever. It might be time for a new pair of clippers. These are starting to show some signs of wear. Whenever I'm using them, I try to do the flat side against the model so I get a clean grip, but this against the shoe is going to be interesting. So I'm going to take a big chunk off of that, and I'll try and remove more when it's off the sprue. There you go, looking at it underneath makes it a bit easier. Try to get it right up to the shoe line without damaging the shoe. That was pretty good. And then looking at the figure, I mean, he's got a couple pieces of flash here and here, but I do kind of like the way that his helmet strap is connected to his arm. Some durability to it. Let's lay these guys out nicely. These are very small, much smaller than I'm used to painting. So that will be a challenge, but I can do it because I have magnification glasses, and we can take some liberties with how we paint the face and how we spray paint them, prime them up. That will save us a lot of time because they're so small. I mean, the detail is really up to me on how much I want to, how much time I want to spend on each of them. A little bit of what's happening with how I'm clipping these is that they're a softer plastic, so sometimes they're a bit more difficult to cut through. I don't know why that is. I might just need sharper blades. All right, so being careful with the parachute. Okay, nice. All right, that's everybody from this side. Don't want to cut off too far down because he does have a mohawk. I do want to retain the shape of that. The thickness of the sprue is actually kind of getting in the way of the clippers, so I have to sort of force it in there a little bit to get it flush, fully on and flush. Okay, yeah, there's no unique one-offs anywhere on this sprue, which is cool. All right, let's get them lined up. I do like the variety in terms of modeling. I just think that I'm gonna put the awkward ones up here. I'm assuming that this guy is supposed to go with this guy because he's got, I guess this is, like, usually these machine gunners that are prone have a guy next to them for refilling the ammunition. At least that's how it is with the 132 kits. I do think they want you to twist this parachute, maybe like this. Well, it's got a flat edge here. Oh, that's interesting. So I guess it's just supposed to be like blowing in the wind like that. Interesting. I would have thought it was supposed to be like this, but yeah, that makes sense because this is flat and the detail is fine, but it's supposed to be on the ground like this. I guess I could do that, but yeah, it's supposed to be getting caught. Just to me, it seemed like it was supposed to be like that and twisted up. Interesting. Okay, so you kind of gotta go through the flashing, and then I have to think of a way to prime them all in one go once they're clean. Yeah, so I mean, this might be a med kit. I don't know. Typically, I would think these guys would go together, and he'd be like being fed from an ammo box like this, but I'm really not sure. But looking at them all a bit more in detail, close up, I like the detail of his helmet being on his back belt, but I really don't know how realistic that is, and it does look like his helmet is very large compared to other helmets, but I guess it's not. It just at a glance. Helmets are always so big to me. I think they always look so big. So these are all the unique sculpts that come with the kit. Overall, I think they're great for their size. For their price point, which is something I haven't talked about, they are absolutely excellent. I got these on eBay from a seller who discounted them to me, so I paid $8 plus $6 for shipping. So 14 bucks for 48 guys. 172 scale is difficult. I mean, you do have to take that in consideration. If you're going to do a diorama, you have to commit to that scale. But for $8, that's pretty awesome. And yeah, guys, this is my first time doing any sort of review, especially from the perspective of a miniature painter. So let me know if there's anything I didn't cover that you'd like me to cover. I think the big thing that I want to just say is that I would recommend these just simply for their affordability and their quality, and also the quantity you get is pretty awesome. Just as game pieces, it's pretty fun. You can throw them on your desk, have an imaginary battle, or you can, take the time and paint them up like I'm going to do in a future video, and I'll give you a whole review on that process and an overview on what I did in that video. But for now, engagement with the video will let me know how much interest there is and if I should continue doing these into the future. I would recommend these guys to anyone looking to get into 172 scale as a good jumping off point. So yeah, until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day.